the Vision with Execution show. My amazing, awesome guest, Paul AI Allen, who is the founder of Ancestry.com and SOAR Studios, and it's now rebranded to Workplace AI, if I understand correctly. Thank you, Paul, for being awesome and for being on my show.
Thanks for inviting me, Adam. I've loved getting to know you the last year or so.
Yeah, I've unintentionally had all of my guests so far on my podcast have been people I've invested in their companies. I guess those are the people that like me the most this year. And yeah, no, that's but yeah, it's been awesome getting to know you as well. I've followed your career and your accomplishments since around 2000, and I was roughly 18 back at that point, and that's the first time I ever heard your name here in Utah County, and it's been an amazing experience for me to just sort of get within your circle as well. And so the very first episode I did on my podcast, one of the people whose name I said I wanted to have on was Paul Allen. And the whole thrust and the idea behind my show is creating visions in your mind and then executing on them has the propensity to turn them into reality. And I got that concept because Thomas Edison said vision without execution is hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
And so I intentionally said the very first episode of my podcast, here are the people I want to have on my show this year. And you were one of those people I named, and here you are. So the vision with execution is fulfilling itself.
Well, I know people have vision boards, and then they look at those every day, and it starts to manifest in reality. I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan last week, 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, meeting with a former Congressman, Justin Amash, who's one of the most principled members who's ever served in the US Congress. And my Uber driver who took me to the airport after that lunch meeting said that 4 months ago he created a vision board, and the other day he was explaining it to someone and realized that 3 of the things on his vision board have actually happened, including the car he was driving. And he kind of had basically said, here's what I'm going to do, and then he kind of forgot about it. But he was shocked a few months later to see that those dreams or visions that he had were already manifesting. And but yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really, really important to execute. And sometimes my imagination is so vivid that it almost feels like it's done. I've actually had that experience where you're imagining a product or a feature, and it's so vivid, and you can almost taste it and smell it, and like, wow, that was awesome. But it hasn't really been brought into life for anyone else except in your own mind. And so execution, sometimes you've got some execution strengths, and then other times you have to surround yourself by people who are extraordinarily good at execution. And I'm kind of in the middle of doing both of those things with SOAR AI Studio and some of our subsidiary companies.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in the concept of who, not how, which is a Dan Sullivan book. I read that for the first time last year, and I think it marries perfectly with the idea that executing a vision into reality doesn't matter who is doing it, whether it's your vision or your team's vision or the CEO's, whoever's vision it is, can be executed into reality if you have the right people on the project. So yeah, that's exactly right. And I honestly, I think it's awesome that you were able to articulate the way that you have these ideas in your mind, sometimes how real they are to you. And I think one of the frustrations for smart people who are creating their visions like that is articulating them to everyone around them to help them see the vision for themselves and get them excited to execute on it.
I agree completely. And I think that AI, because you have to communicate exactly what you need the AI to do in what sequence when you're asking it to generate something, the more carefully you explain step by step and then what the output is supposed to be, the more accurately it creates what you want it to. It's so exciting that since computers got the ability to understand and generate language, our ability to practice with a computer, practice communicating and organizing our thoughts and ideas into plans and broken down into tasks. It's like the better we are. A lot of engineers are so good at that already, but they might not be good with people or with communicating necessarily with people. But when you get a practice communicating clearly or not clearly with a computer, I think it's really good practice because humans also need to receive clear communications and to align. And so I think we're about to embark on the greatest era of productivity in human history. I think those people who become really good at specifically explaining what they want to create, you'll have swarms of agents that can jump into action and basically do the work of humans, but at a much more accurate and fast pace. And so I think Sam Altman and others have been predicting that there'll be a one-person company that reaches $1 billion valuation because they'll have so many agents. Well, those agents have to be orchestrated. Each one will have to have very clear instructions. You do what, you do this by this such and such a time, and you're communicating and coordinating with this person or this agent, and so it's really an amazing time to be alive, where your ideas and hopes and dreams and visions can come into reality easier and faster than ever before, and probably at a lower cost, but also with a larger scale of potential impact.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, And then I'm just going to take a second and talk about the concept of swarm. I've been thinking about that in a much scaled back version just today because I'm the coach for my daughter's basketball team, and the girls at that level, one of the hardest things for them to do is to understand how to play defense and who they're supposed to guard and what they're supposed to do. And so I've been thinking to myself, what if I just had all the girls on my team just swarm the ball? Doesn't matter who's got it. So that's literally our defense for our next game. We're going to play swarm defense. And I have no idea how that's going to work out, but I've just been watching how distracted the girls can get from their job function. And if they're all contributing like 5 to 10% of their ability all at the same time on one task, then we should theoretically become way better a lot faster. And I know that that's not even close to the level of agentic AI doing swarming activities on a task, but the same type of thinking, I suspect, where you've got all these things that just need to be put to work and told specifically what to do. And if they're all coming at a task from a slightly different angle and all working together and they all know what the other thing is doing, that will increase productivity just by default. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. I would love to hear how your girls' basketball game goes. I remember a coach of another girls' basketball team that did a full court press, and that was their defense, was like, we'll just guard the ball when it's tossed in, and we'll just do full court press. And they basically stole the ball and scored almost every play, and they were not very popular with the other teams. So I don't know if you'll completely dominate and celebrate, but then I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how other coaches and parents respond to the 5-on-1 defensive scheme you're coming up with.
And that's always been the least of my concerns is what other people think. And that's what you got to be when you're an entrepreneur. You just can't really care to any real extent. Um, so I want all the people I have on my show, I give them an opportunity to answer 2 questions. And if we want to talk about anything else, that's totally fine. But the first question I always ask is, what is your vision for 2025? And that could be personal or business or the holding companies or whatever that happens to be for you that's at the top of your mind right now. What is your vision for 2025? And then follow-up question is, how are you going to execute on that in 2025? So I want to pose that first question to you, Paul. What is your vision for 2025?
It's two fantastic questions, Adam, and I'd love to hear all of the other guests' answers to those two questions. So I'm going to take a kind of a philosophical approach to that first question. So I'm going to be 60 in November. So I've lived a long time, and I had a lot of formative experiences when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, in my faith, I received a blessing that kind of talked about my life and my life work, and what would bring me a fulfillment. And I think I'm very fortunate to have a belief in a higher power, and also a belief that I'm loved and that I have a purpose on earth. And so much of my personal scripture or my personal study over the past few decades is about, what can I do, what gifts do I have, what talents do I have, and how can I do good and serve others, and also, what is expected of me. So while I've started 8 companies and I love entrepreneurship, I've also had 8 kids, and now I have 5 grandkids and one on the way. And so my biggest goal in 2025 is really around my relationships with my wife, my kids, and my grandkids. And so I'll explain how I plan to execute on that this year. But for your audience, which is mostly around entrepreneurship, I've been crystallizing on a vision now for over 2 years of how the SOAR AI Studio can bring our AI technology to humanity at scale through a verticalization strategy. And so, you know, there's work, and most of us spend 80 or 90,000 hours of our life at work. Well, how can SOAR AI help people thrive at work and learn to love their job and love the people they work with and work on projects that are meaningful to them personally? And so the vision that I have for 2025 in regards to work is to bring AI solutions to 8 or 10 subsidiary companies to start having an impact on thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people through our workplace AI, through our founder portal. We have a startup scribe product that will help startup teams get better faster, have agents later this year that can take everything your customers are telling you they need in your customer development interviews, and AI can help build the roadmap and then write the code and then do the marketing and then do the sales and then do the support. So the AI products that everyone gets to be trying and using these days are phenomenally powerful. But what our vision is to create a system that one person or a team of people can use to kind of coordinate their interactions with AI and with their customers, so that their productivity goes up and they create more value for more stakeholders. So the way that we will accomplish our vision this year of starting to have a meaningful impact with very large customer bases across a whole bunch of different sectors, not only enterprise-sized companies and startup-sized companies, but also our health portal will bring the AI solution to doctors and nurses and their patients. The legal portal will help lawyers and all the people that work in a law firm to up their game and become more efficient, more productive. And then we have our faith portal, our citizen portal, and our family portal, which are going to be creating very powerful tools to help you connect to your faith, connect to your family, connect to your government, and collaborate with other citizens so that you can be more involved in getting good government outcomes. And so the way to execute on a vision that is that broad is to hire amazing CEOs for each of these subsidiary companies, raise some seed capital for each one, maybe $500,000 or $1 million, and then form one or more partnerships with world-class brands who already have a huge customer base, but they're going to be disrupted by AI if they don't act quickly. And the SOAR AI platform, customized with their brand and to their customers' needs, can be customized in a matter of days or weeks. So the way that SOAR will execute in so many verticals so quickly is by having the right leaders in each of those vertical companies. So I've hired one CEO, Chris Higbee. He started on October 1st as the CEO of Workplace AI. We have interviews happening right now for 3 more verticals, and we hope by the end of this year to have 8 people in the CEO seat with a great AI product, customized to the needs of a world-class brand, and as I said, to start reaching very large customer bases with the solution that starts with recording all your calls and meetings, transcribing every word spoken by every person in your company and that's interfacing with your company, and then AI starts to analyze what are their goals, what are their plans, how can AI help in executing on all of those plans. And so it's a recombinable, reusable set of tools that can be aimed at any market's needs. So that's the goal. Now, I probably should quantify how many total users we want by the end of the year. I do know that Citizen Portal wants millions of monthly users by the end of this year, and our growth is starting to extremely take off. We're doubling our user base every few weeks. We have some major distribution partners for Citizen Portal that are coming online, and we do believe that our hundreds of thousands of AI-generated articles per month can be made available to citizens wherever you go for news. And you don't have to come to citizenportal.ai. You can go to your local news website or a local radio station, and we have a free partnership with any news distributor to bring what's happening in your city, your county, your state, right to you wherever you get your news. And so I probably haven't quantified the goals for this year as much as I need to, but I do know that I want to hire the right people for each of these verticals, and by the end of the year have 8 CEOs running subsidiary companies.
That's awesome. I've heard you talk about some of these concepts in different meetings and settings, and I love how it's you tied it all together. And I do know Chris, as you know, and I've I've sat in some of the investor meetings with the various portals, and Citizen Portal is one that is some on a couple of levels interesting to me because of my experience in the news media, and I've talked with your team and we've gone back and forth about ideas, and I I've been connecting with a lot of syndication people lately myself. So I'm going to make it a point to try and see if I can make some connections within those industries for you. And I'm saying this out loud so that our AI note taker has it and gives me that action item. And so I'm excited for all the stuff that you're involved in. And one of the biggest difficulties for me in being an entrepreneur, like you mentioned at the beginning, is you have 8 kids. I've got 2, and I still struggle to make time to connect with the 2 of them. And I think about it every day. And I have also felt called, uh, being a member of the same faith and being very concerned about bringing up and raising a generation of kids that can be even more responsible and more faithful to what they believe and know exactly who they are so that they can fulfill their potential on the earth. And I feel like that is my most important calling, is to raise up my own children with that belief and that faith. And it doesn't matter how much or how little money I make. That is the most important thing. And all of the people I've had on my show, some of them have not been members of our faith, but they all agree that being responsible for humans and raising a family within this world that we live in is so critical to the future of everything that we're doing. So I just I love how you started out by saying that, and I think your vision for SOAR AI Studios and the subsidiaries, getting the CEOs locked in place, getting those partnerships in place with relevant partners, that all makes a ton of sense to me. And I love that it's not extremely complicated to describe either. It's definitely hard to put into practice. Just hiring a CEO, that's got to be brutal. And so I love everything that you've described, and I know all the people that are going to listen to it are going to understand exactly what you just described. So
Hmm.
this has been awesome.
One thing I am grateful for is I worked at Gallup for 5 years, and I remember telling Jim Clifton, the chairman and CEO of Gallup, that he did something that I thought was one of the smartest business things I'd ever seen in my life. He had 24 senior scientists who worked for Gallup maybe 1 or 2 weeks out of the year, and he would pay them a small stipend. But he had Nobel Prize winners, he had former Speaker of the House, former defense secretary, top-notch PhDs in academia, and he had this brain trust, and he could call any of them at any time and say, what questions should we ask the world for the next 100 years in our world poll? And when you have the smartest people on earth with all kinds of different specialties, you end up with some really great thoughts about what questions should we ask people in every country over the next 100 years. And so the world poll is amazing. But I took that model and I've now invited 24 of the smartest people I've ever met and the coolest people I've ever met to be advisory board members for SOAR AI Studio. And I'm meeting with them all on Friday. We meet every month, and they're going to help me find those CEOs. It's not something you can do on your own. You need to find experts and wonderful people. I have a friendship with Whitney Johnson. She's been rated the top talent coach in the world. She coaches CEOs of some of the biggest companies on earth. She's on my advisory board. Eric Ries, the author of Lean Startup, who kind of started the whole lean movement, he's on my advisory board. And so when you get talent like that helping you find who's the right CEO for our education portal, who's the right CEO for our friend portal that we hope to launch sometime in the future. And so every area of life that makes human life meaningful, we want to have a product and a platform and a CEO and partnerships to kind of go deep in that area. And then I started coding again. I coded in BASIC 30 years ago and Turbo Pascal. I coded in Python starting in 2013, and I did some coding for Gallup for a few years. But now I'm using some of the Copilot tools, and I'm starting to build the Jarvis AI that for my mobile phone that will help me keep my life priorities. So I start with my relationship with God, my wife and my kids. Those are the family relationships that matter most. And then I'll have relationships with CEOs of my subsidiaries and all of my investors. And then I'll have AI that helps me learn what I need to learn each day from all the podcasts and YouTube channels that are out there. But I also need AI to help me live physically healthy, financially a good steward of financial resources, and maybe AI that can help me save money and invest better. All of us will soon have an AI super intelligence that could advise us or assist us anytime we want. But what I'm excited most about is a single AI platform that you can call upon to navigate any part of life, whether it's health, finances, citizenship, your work in your church, or you're working with your family. And you should be able to program your AI to know what your ultimate priorities and values are, so that it doesn't fill up your day with workplace related stuff and now you don't have time for your kids, or now you don't have time to vote, or time to attend a community event, or participate in a organized faith. And so I'm really excited about this kind of Uber AI that you get to design and customize. And I'm starting to code that myself on Replit. And I'll have a mobile app soon that will be drawing from all of our other portals, so that I can kind of intelligently design my day, my month, my year, and with intentionality reach my full potential in all those areas of life that matter most to me. So I'm not a great coder and I'll never build the product we ship, but for a prototype that draws from all of our other projects, I'm so excited to be able to do that and kind of have an AI compass, a GPS to guide me through all the complications of the modern world, legal, medical. My goodness, if I have an AI that knows everything and knows who I am and what I want to accomplish in life, I'm very excited and optimistic that those of us who deploy an AI with us being in control rather than the AI algorithms that are controlling most people today, the billions of people addicted to social media and dopamine. And there's very powerful systems that are acting upon us rather than us using it as a tool to live our best life. And I feel like, Adam, this is the year where people will be able to start controlling and taking control of the tools and systems that exist, but doing it with intentionality about being your best self and living your best life, rather than having a device that you can't put down and you can't set it aside, and you're scrolling 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You're playing games. You're hooked on all these good things that are fun, but in the long run, it's not the best use of your time. So our goal would be to give people an AI platform that lets you optimize your life and use your time in the wisest possible way to get the joyful outcomes that everybody hopes for: relationships, accomplishments, and service to leave the world better than you found it. And with an AI super intelligence, you'll be able to do a whole lot more than any of us ever imagined.
That sounds like the best of all the coaches and vision boards that could possibly come into existence. That would be the ideal. And I know AI is disrupting everything everywhere, but ultimately for me, I also look at it as a tool that just helps me be better at the things I want to accomplish anyway. And I don't see it as a threat myself. I know a lot of people do, and I'm sure there's use cases where there's a, a definite threat. And I'm not smart enough to get into all that discussion, so we're going to table that. And I can see from your face you probably have some opinions on that. But the I I'm just excited as well to see where we can go with AI, and this is definitely the year to see how humans can use it to our ultimate efficiency. So
It's kind of cool that we came from the industrial age through the information age, and I love that our epic is named the age of intelligence. It's so cool. It's such a cool word. And intelligence on tap to help you with anything, like what machines did for labor, physical labor, the age of intelligence will do for imagination and creativity and execution in the digital world. So, and in the robotic world, I think we're still probably 2 or 3 years away from having millions of robots physically doing all kinds of work, but they'll be talking, walking, seeing, thinking robots. And, I'm not much of a gardener or a farmer, but I do have 22 acres in Missouri, and I hope I have an Optimus robot soon that will become my gardener and help me with fruit trees and pruning and
the weeding
taking.
robot, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are some really cool weeding robots and weeding tractors already that use lasers and stuff. So I feel like we're just um, um, uh, approaching the Jetson era where, or the Wally era where, you know, robots and machines will be able to do so much. But we're getting very close this year. I think the age of intelligence is here, and we'll have much more ability than ever before to learn and apply what we learn in every field with the assistance of these incredible devices and machines.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's super fun to talk about all this stuff and to make predictions and whatnot. And I wish we could just spend all day doing this, the talking, but we got to go and execute on this. So.
Pretty soon, if you talk well enough, the AI will listen and say, Adam, do you want me to go build this, this, and this that you just talked about? And you're like, yeah, when can you have it done? Oh, in 2 hours. We'll have like, anyway, it's going to be cool that we will soon have the ability to speak things into existence in a way that's never been possible before.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can actually I can see where we're going and how quickly that's on its way. So I'm gonna end our show, and then we can chat a little bit afterwards once I end everything. But this has been the Vision with Execution show. My guest Paul AI Allen from the SOAR AI Studio. We connected because I'm an investor in one of his companies, and I've been following his career for as long as I've been following anyone's career, since I was about 18. So it's been cool to have you on. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks, Adam.